Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes off the dome. I am Redfish.
And I am Mustang.
And we are the Chicken Joes. The Fighting Chicken Joes, baby. Glad to be back. Hopefully this one doesn't crash on us like the last one did. And then, missed another one after that. So it's been a while since we've had a successful pod here, but hopefully we can get the ball rolling, look good, play good, fight good, talk good, sound good.
Who are we fighting?
That's for you to decide. Shout out to the boys at the Know at Be in the Know, KNEAUX. The only way to spell it. Saw them. Yeah, huge shout out. Saw them last week when we went to the Pelicans game against the Grizzlies, who they're playing again tonight. Game is coming on any second now. Back in the Blenda, as some would say. Shout out Basement Yard. But it's back in the Smoothie King Center, who, the naming rights just got extended, so we'll be seeing them in there for a little bit now. That game is coming on. We've got it up on the second monitor, so if you see Mustang dazing off into the distance, because he's watched the Pels game.
Yeah,
but
we'll try and keep you updated. Yeah,
we went to that game. We were winning the entire game until 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then it came a neck-and-neck race. Lose it on a John Morant floater. Heartbreaking way to lose for the Pels.
Yeah.
And then we lost to the Rockets again just a couple nights ago. So, on a 2-game skid after coming off of 5 straight wins. So, there's always hot and cold in basketball. Pelicans are hitting the cold, but we're hoping they get a bounce back tonight wearing the, black and green City Edition unis that made the in-season tournament look beautiful. And then we're looking for a win in the Smoothie King Center against the Grizzlies tonight.
Yeah, those 2 losses back-to-back, kind of tough, especially because they were very winnable. I mean, we were in it right till the end. The Houston game was a bit closer, throughout the whole game, whereas, we were there at the Grizzlies game. We were up by almost 20 points at halftime. And, as a Pels fan, that's never a good sign.
No, never a good sign.
Because the third quarter is our worst enemy, has been past 4 seasons.
Yep, every time.
But, tonight's feeling a little different. I think it's a little revenge game. They're going to contain Ja a little more. He had 36 points last time they met in his first game back. So I think they'll try and work out some kinks on that, man up on him a little bit better. And, CJ might hit the 2 open threes that he bricked last game.
Not only did he miss it for the win of the Pels, he missed it for the win of a parlay.
Big parlay, too.
Shout out to Clown Car in the chat. Flock up.
Oh, yeah.
Flock around and find out. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, hopefully the Pels can pull out a win tonight. But overall, they've been really good. I believe 7 seed on the year, maybe 8 seed now with 2 losses. I can double check and stat check that. But either way, having a pretty good season. We're staying fairly healthy. Here and there, we're missing some games, but overall,
it's not any long-term injuries. It's miss a game here, miss a game there. But
we are the 7th seed, half a game above the Rockets right now.
Nice.
And we're half a game back of the Clippers. So, if we pull out a win here tonight, we might even bump up to that 6th seed.
And, that Rockets game, again, like I said, very winnable. But one thing we couldn't do is contain Sengun.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Reese, 37-11. Biggest Sengun hater on the face of the planet.
For no reason.
Bro had 50 points and or 50 points, rebounds, assists combined. So, there's no winning when it comes to Rebo's takes. I'll tell you that much.
True.
However, he does have some takes about the LSU Tigers that we want to get into. Before we get into the bowl game that's coming up on the first of the year, and hopefully everybody had a Merry Christmas. Looking forward to the new year. Before we get into that bowl game, 2 things we want to talk about. First, National Signing Day, which is what Rebo Hustle had a big, long thought about. He couldn't be on the pod tonight because he likes to make things inconvenient for us. However, he did have some thoughts, so he wanted to get those out. Firstly, we know he's a big offensive lineman guy. We know Rebo loves the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So his first thought came on Cohen Eccles, 6'3", 290 interior O lineman, big boy. He said he's a great run blocker, potential to be a day 1 starter. now that Charles Turner's leaving. He said his film, speaks to his versatility. He's played all 5 positions at Katy High School, which is one of the best high schools in Texas, which is saying a lot because Texas football means a lot in high school.
Texas don't play when it comes to high school football.
Absolutely not.
College football, they play a little bit.
Yeah,
not the
professional,
best.
They choke. Yeah. So when Rebo said, the real reason he sold is the potential to be a day one starter because every O-line camp he's been throughout his high school career, he's been the MVP of the camp. And Rebo has been to multiple O-lineman camps. He knows what it takes to, show out in those camps, especially, he did it in Louisiana. I'm sure in Texas it's even, it's a bigger camp, a lot more people, a lot bigger guys. So for him to be that impressed, it makes me excited about it. Next guy he had on the list, Deshaun McBride. He's the number 3 player in Louisiana, the number 4 safety in the country. He's coming out of Denham Springs. He said he's a very stereotypical free safety. Very fast, plays center field, and he's never getting beat on the deep ball. Sounds perfect for what LSU needs right now.
Yeah.
LSU was getting diced.
We need that. We need secondary help, and we need tacklers. We need people who can make, just tackle.
Yeah, I mean, if you describe to me this guy, it sounds like, Sage Ryan is coming back. We talked about him on the last pod about how he was transferring out. Turns out it was just a rumor. He's back with the team. He's not in the transfer portal. He's coming back. This guy sounds like him and Sage Ryan could make a solid combo at safety. Let Sage Ryan play up in the box. Let him play. Let Deshaun play back. So that should be fun. Next guy, Trudez Green out of Zachary, just a few minutes from here. Number 2 player in Louisiana, number 3 tight end in the country. 6'6", 225, built exactly how you want him.
Yeah.
Super fast and athletic. Beautiful in the 50-50 ball. And, perfect red zone threat. So gotta love that as a tight end. It'll be a great balance to Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor's a good move, the sticks guy. If Trudez can make it in the red zone, we can use 2 tight end sets with losing 2 big wide receivers.
Yeah, and then, in today's college football, tight ends are becoming a huge asset to teams. Like you're used to seeing, either a run-heavy offense or if it's a pass-heavy offense, they're just throwing bombs down the field. But now with these tight ends, they're getting more and more athletic. They're getting bigger. They're getting stronger. They're able to run these quick 5-10-yard outs or ends and, move the ball down the field a little slower, but with more consistency. And not only do we see it in college, but we see it in the NFL. We see these young guys coming out of college and going to the NFL and being immediately successful, like Kincaid, like Schoonmaker, Ferguson.
Yeah.
All these guys immediately impacting a team.
Yeah, I mean, I think a great tight end's underrated because you look at the teams who have great tight ends, and typically they're the teams that are making it far in the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying it's a direct correlation, but you look at the Eagles last year had Dallas Goedert, who's a top 10 tight end in the league. You have Travis Kelce, who's number 1 in the league. He's not having the best season of his career, but he's still a very, very good player.
It's because he's being hindered by a blonde.
No comment. You look at, the Vikings who have made a playoff run last year. They're playing way better than they should this year. Unfortunately, their tight end, TJ Hawkinson, who was the best tight end this season, tore his ACL. So he's out for the year, which I'm going to talk about at the last segment of the show. But, you look at the teams that make deep runs. You look at the teams that are really good, and they usually have a tight end that's a playmaker. So to have Trudez Green, who's, not only the number 2 player in Louisiana, but number 3 tight end in the entire country, to wear purple and gold means a lot. 4th player that Reese wanted to talk about, and we have one more after this. Number 1 kicker in the country, Aaron Burrell, is going to join in the purple and gold.
Hello.
We have Damian Ramos, but, LSU has low-key been a really good school for kickers recently.
Yeah.
Guys like Cade York, Damian Ramos, Cole Tracy, these are really good kickers who are going to make an impact in the league and have made an impact in the league. And Aaron Burrell looks to be the next one. He said he hit 2 50-plus yarders in the same game for Parkway, which is in Bossier City, Louisiana. He's not 100% sure if the number 1 kicker in the country ever pans out to be the number 1 kicker because nobody really tracks kickers like that. Yeah. But we do know that a lot of kickers in the NFL, you can look back and they have a lot of different routes to getting there. So we'll see if the next one comes through purple and gold LSU. And then last guy we have to talk about, Colin Hurley. Freshman quarterback. He reclassified. He was supposed to be next year, reclassified to this year because he wanted to be a part of this class. He's been committed since last November, so he's been committed for a very long time. Never frayed. just played in the All-American Army game. Offensive coordinator, talked raving reviews about him. He's only 17 years old, and he's classifying for college. The coordinator even said, like, Hurley's so mature for his age. He understands the game of football. I said basketball because I'm watching the Pels game. He understands the game of football so well that he was, asking about concepts and asking, hey, can receivers run certain routes during the game? So being able to look at a defense and adjust while in high school, that's going to be a great thing to come into a college locker room, especially one like LSU, and be able to use that skill. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, not only that, like the ability to read the defense, but when you're young like this, you're trying to soak up as much information as possible. And I know from experience that when you're somewhere where you're not completely comfortable, asking some questions can seem like
a daunting task.
Yeah, like you don't want to ask a question and seem out of place or anything.
Yeah.
So him, asking questions like this during a game says a lot to me about his maturity, his willingness to learn, and his want to succeed.
Yeah. So he's coming in to join a QB room that already has Ricky Collins, transfer from Vanderbilt, A.J. Swan, and then Garrett Nussmeier. So we'll see where those four rank. We'll see how playing time goes. We'll see who gets to start. We'll see, maybe 2 years from now, Colin Hurley can step up, be that guy. He's 6 foot, 215, and can run the ball like a wide receiver. So we'll definitely see what happens in the QB room. Rebo's very excited about this National Signing Day. I like a lot of the prospects too. The last thing he said that I think is the most important part to talk about is Brian Kelly's ability to recruit Louisiana. That was the biggest question coming in when BK became the coach of LSU is, can he keep the Southern boys Southern? Because he's always been in the North. He's used to recruiting out of state. It's never been like a let's create this factory where kids from home stay home. But he's been able to do that with this class. He's got a strong Louisiana class. The program is built through the state, and not only that, but it's really good people from our state. It's not like we're missing out on the good guys from Louisiana who are going out of state, and then we're just picking up the scraps. We're getting those high-ranked national players to stay home, which I think is really important. And then the last stat Rebo wanted to talk about before we move on to the bowl game, and another move LSU has made is the average recruit to campus last season was 451 miles away from home. This year, it's 191.
Wow.
So 250 less miles, which speaks to keeping the homeboys home and being able to create that culture of the Bayou Bengals. That they're staying home. They're staying where they grew up. They've probably been LSU fans their entire life. Brandon Ingram just had the biggest block I've ever seen by Brandon Ingram.
On Ja Morant.
On Ja. So, good times. Moving on to the next piece about the LSU Tigers, Mike Denbrock, offensive coordinator, was a finalist for the Jim Broyles Award, which is the best assistant coach in the nation. Goes home to Indiana, goes to South Bend, Notre Dame. He was there with Brian Kelly, then became the OC at Cincinnati, joined LSU staff for 2 years, and now he's going back to Notre Dame. So, not something a lot of people are happy about. I know myself, not too happy about it. We had one of the best offenses in the nation, the best offense in the SEC this year, and the guy who was behind it all is no longer here. What's your thoughts about
the guys who were behind it all?
What's your thoughts about Denbrock heading out?
From a fan's perspective, of course it hurts. Like seeing someone that made you so successful have to part ways. It's never a good feeling. But on a personal level, I get it.
Yeah.
Like he just performed phenomenally for this team. Want to thank him personally. I know he's absolutely watching this right now.
Of course.
So yes, thank you for the past 2 seasons, even though the first one was a little rocky. This one could have been so much better if we had a defense.
Yeah. If you would have told me 3 weeks ago that one of our coordinators would be gone before the bowl game, I definitely would not have said Denbrock. I'll tell you that much.
We got rid of the wrong one.
Matt House is still here, but Denbrock's gone. Got more money from Notre Dame. Got closer to home.
Yeah. And I kind of expected it. I kind of saw it coming with how he's performed this season and last season. That somebody was going to offer him a lot of money, and whether that be still in college football or moving up a level. I knew he was going to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I could have seen him taking a head coach job, but, he took the OC job, gets a little bit more money, goes to Notre Dame. And, we're having a lot of turnover at LSU, so you can't say that necessarily his system was perfect for the new guys coming up. So, we'll never know what his system would have looked like with next year's personnel, but it's now our responsibility to find somebody new. My thoughts are Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward already have somebody in mind. I don't know who that somebody might be. Just watched an absolute brick from Jaren Jackson Jr.
Airball 3. But, the Pelicans are currently 0 for 4 from 3 right now.
Yeah. Can't have it. Down 10-6 early in the first quarter. So my thoughts on the coordinator position, although it sucks Denbrock's leaving, I think our system was going to change anyway. Nussmeier's very different than Jaden Daniels. We're going to have different wide receivers. Running backs are going to be different. Offensive line is going to be losing a couple pieces. So everything's going to look different anyway. So why not bring in a guy you think is going to fit your personnel? There hasn't been much talk about who that guy might be. I know that they announced that Joe Sloan, our quarterback's coach, Cortez Hankton, our wide receivers coach, they're going to be our co-OCs for the bowl game coming up against Wisconsin. We'll see how that goes. Naturally, it looks like Joe Sloan might be a candidate to step up from QB coach straight to OC. We have yet to see if that happens. However, there's a couple guys I would like to see come over. I know Kirby Moore from Mizzou. Mizzou had a great offense this year, and their offense this year reminds me of what LSU's offense could look like next year. Brady Cook and Nussmeier. We could have although they had Cody Schrader, which was one of the best running backs in the country, LSU definitely has some good running backs too. Logan Diggs, Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson, bringing in Kadem Durham, who's another recruit, who will be a true freshman. So LSU's got some really good backs in the backfield, and then we've got some wide receivers changing. But I think if you bring in a guy who's proven to work at a smaller school and you bring him into a bigger school, we can see what he's working with. So I don't know who the coordinator is going to be, but hopefully it's somebody that fits our culture, fits what BK is trying to do, and we can win some football games.
Yeah, like you said, I have no idea who it could be. I haven't even touched on looking at prospects or anything for it. But I do think we'll kind of have to rebuild this dynasty back up over the next few years. So it might not be pretty, but I do think we'll have a pretty nice end result within 2-3 years.
One of my favorite follows on X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, is Sherman Wilson, a guy that Jaden Daniels pointed out in his Heisman speech, a guy who's very important to LSU and to a lot of the players on the team. He said, "We're LSU. We don't rebuild. We retool. You give us 1 year and we're back in it." And I believe that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're bringing in a big, strong freshman class. We're top 10 in the nation in recruiting. You have Nussmeier, who's been sitting on the bench for quite a few years, gotten some experience under his belt. You've got a lot of guys on defense coming back. So we'll see how that goes. Talking about the bowl game specifically, January 1st, Wisconsin. Spread is at 10 right now in favor of LSU. Jaden Daniels is the only player not playing. So we'll have Malik Neighbors. We'll have Brian Thomas. We'll have all our backs. O-line, defense, as bad as they are, they'll be there. But we're taking on a Big Ten school who is quite the opposite of us.
Yep.
Rather than being an electrifying offense with a defense that can't stop, they're more of a defense who's going to take it to you and an offense who just plays on opportunity. So we'll see who has more opportunity in this game. Of course, I like the Tigers.
Yeah, many people do.
That's why the spread's at 10.
We saw what happened last year in
similar
matchup.
Yeah, you bring a Big Ten school and you let them play LSU and they lose by 56 points. So I don't know if we'll necessarily beat Wisconsin by 56, considering the over-under is set at like 52. But I definitely like the Tigers in this one. Wisconsin was kind of one of those middling Big Ten teams. Didn't make it to the Big Ten championship with their first year with Luke Fickell out of Cincinnati. I think their defense is going to be strong. maybe stop LSU a couple times with Nuss, but once he gets comfortable, I like us to win the game. Score prediction, give me 38-23. 38-23.
Beating the over-under.
Yeah. I like LSU to score some points.
Nice. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think, while I do think they have a pretty solid defense, I don't think it can consistently contain the Tigers. I just think, especially with Malik and BT
Cruiser?
What? Especially with those two playing. I mean, it seems like it really doesn't matter who you have at quarterback when you have those two. Yep. They're going to get open. They're going to go for 150 off of 4 catches.
Neighbors only needs 21 to break the record for most all-time receiving yards as an LSU Tiger, so we're looking forward to that one getting broken.
Yeah, he should have got it against A&M, but Kyron Lacey.
Shout out Kyron. He'll be back. He'll be the number 1 receiver next year.
And it's not terrible. We saw plenty of good flashes from him this year. Yeah, I would say more good than bad.
He definitely improved in some points. Like I said on the last pod that I don't even think it got uploaded because of how corrupted the file was. But I said on the last pod he reminds me of Quentin Johnston from last year. Big body, got the speed, will win a 50-50 ball. But the question is, what is his route tree, and does he have the hands to consistently make catches? And Kyron Lacey has shown an inability to, make cuts. He's kind of just a comeback, curl, in route kind of guy. And then he's definitely had some problems with some drops. So that'll be an interesting look for our wide receiver into the 23-24 season.
Yeah. I am looking for improvement out of him over this offseason, and I think we'll see it. But anyway, back to matter at hand. Like I said, I trust LSU's offense to beat the defense. It's not so much as I trust our defense. It's the fact that I think, an SEC defense going against a Big Ten offense is not the greatest look for Wisconsin.
Right.
I think we'll be able to get after the quarterback and not have to worry so much about our coverage in the secondary. I'm predicting a lot of pressure out of these guys. Final score prediction, I'll go LSU 41, Wisconsin Badgers 17.
Talk about points. That's what I like to hear. 41. If Nussmeier can get us a score of 41, I feel really good about next season.
I mean, it's not so much him, but...
No, I'm just saying, your quarterback has to be proficient to be able to score that many points. So I'd be happy.
Either that or your receivers have to be wide open.
Either that or you're the Raiders who scored 63 on the Chargers off 5 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, or you just throw it to Leonard Fournette in college.
Fair enough. So that's what we're looking at with the Tigers. We'll talk about a team who I really just don't want to talk about anymore, even though we have to, and that's the New Orleans Saints. Yeah. Played Thursday Night Football for the national audience to see.
About what I expected.
Sucked until 8 minutes left in the game when we make a comeback. That's kind of just been the Saints thing. It's just be bad all game and then try to look good at the end.
And we actually got to play now.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but I just don't have the love for the team that I do anymore. 4 or 5 years ago when we were making first, second round of playoffs every season, just, with our eyes closed, you could look around the city of New Orleans and everybody's wearing Saints stuff. Everybody's talking about the Saints. Everybody's ready for us to go win another Super Bowl. Of course, we were upset when that never worked out, but at least we had a passion for the team to win. Yeah. Now, people are praying for us to lose.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want out of a hometown team that means so much to a city and to a state. And I'm one of those people. I mean, I'd rather us just lose the last 2 at this point than fight for, the division. And, if we beat the Bucs and then we beat the Falcons the last week, we win the division. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to play the Cowboys, and they're going to beat us by 30. What do we gain from that? We don't gain anything. Yeah. We gain nothing from watching Derek Carr in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a tough scenario. Of course, you always want your team to make the playoffs, but there are certain circumstances, like these, where it would probably be better for us to, get a better draft pick, worry more about the future than now, because Like you said, if we make the playoffs, we'll be playing either the Cowboys or the Eagles first round. If we sneak into the wild card, if we're lucky and we manage to win out and get the first seed, then it's kind of a toss-up. We'd be playing.
If we're the number 4 seed, we're playing the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Cowboys are number 5 seed, basically.
Or still got 1 week left. Cowboys and Eagles could flip.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with that is the Eagles do play the Commanders and then the Giants again, so it's really easy for them.
So that's the only thought. Commanders.
I mean, we'll see. But yeah, we'll play the second place NFC East team basically, and either one of them is going to beat us by at least 20.
I do think we have more of a chance against the Cowboys because, while they do have a very talented team, they've struggled a lot recently. Like they've gotten the wins, but it hasn't been pretty.
Yeah, and I mean,
we watched them and the Dolphins play. Both of those teams this season have been known for, absolutely dominating the teams on the lesser end, but struggling with the middle road teams.
Yep.
And watching them face off was kind of funny because it looked like neither team knew what to do.
Yeah.
But all in all, the Cowboys lost. So I am a little more confident going against the Cowboys than the Eagles. I think the Eagles more well-rounded. Cowboys kind of rely on their defense. Their offense has been a little shaky. It's either 1 or 2 play touchdown or a long drive that ends in a turnover.
Yeah, I mean, both. I think there's very few teams in the NFL who have shown that they can win consistently week to week, and neither one of those teams are it. However, they're both better than the Saints.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt.
And I hate to be so negative about my own team, but it's just it is what it is at this point. Yeah. I would like for us to just lose and get a better draft pick. There's a lot of rumors going around that Dennis Allen's job is safe, which hurts my soul. I don't know how you can, just say, oh, we're going to clean this up and we've got to be better. And you say it over and over and over again, and you've got like a 35% winning percentage as a head coach in your time in the NFL, and yet your job is safe after completely underperforming for 2 seasons. Like, I don't get it, but whatever happens. Hopefully they can do something to spark my interest back in this team, but until then I'll just kind of be mundane like this about the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, if we do manage to win out, make the playoffs, or even sneak into the wild card in the playoffs, I'm going to back them 100%. I'm going to support them.
If we make the playoffs, I'm not going to cheer for us to lose.
Yeah.
But right now, I kind of want us to lose to get a better draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
get a better draft pick. Think about your future. Think about drafting Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, you can think about it. 5 would look good. JD 5 in black and gold. Beautiful look. I mean, would bring an electric offense to the Superdome.
Oh, yeah.
He could run the ball.
I think that I've been looking at a few mock drafts, just regarding to where people think Jaden Daniels is going to land. Back before he won the Heisman, it was kind of like middle first round. A lot of them had to go into the Raiders, which I did not like. There's few teams that I think Jaden Daniels wouldn't fit. The Raiders are one of them.
Yeah.
The Patriots are one of them.
Yep.
Just don't see him succeeding as much as he could as if he's in one of those offenses rather than like more versatile West Coast offense.
I look at the Minnesota Vikings, and every time I look at them, I'm like, if they had Jaden Daniels at quarterback, if they can get Jaden Daniels at quarterback, that would be insane.
I mean, because you look at him, a lot of people are comparing him to Lamar. It might be a long shot.
Yeah.
But I think he's better than Lamar. I think he runs just as well as Lamar, maybe a little bit worse. But I think he throws and reads a defense a whole lot better than Lamar.
Yeah. I don't think he has the long speed that Lamar does. But I think he's a little bit. Lamar's thing has always been he's skinny. He doesn't have much meat on the bones. That's Jaden Daniels' thing too. People say that about Jaden Daniels. But they're both very quick, both able to elude the pocket, and at least pick up a first down, if not more. Jaden Daniels has done that so many times this past season. I would love his fit in the Superdome, but I think once we get closer to draft season, we'll see, where our team's picking, where people are projected to go, and then we'll find out where J.D. Fine finds his forever home, or at least his first NFL team.
For 4-5 years.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about the Saints before we move into the betting segment?
If you're gonna win. If you're gonna lose.
Beautiful way to say it. So we're gonna talk about our bets, and this will lead us into something we wanted to talk about anyway, and that is the college football playoff.
Whoop, whoop.
So, we decided both to do a college football playoff parlay as the parlay for this week. The NFL games just didn't look as spicy as I wanted them to. You went full college football playoffs. I went January 1st in general because I went to 2 college football playoff games plus an extra. So let's give your parlay. We'll talk about the games, and then I'll give my parlay.
Okay, so a while back, I missed the episode. It was you, Rebo.
I believe Clown Car was there as well.
Car, yeah. And I was in the comments, but I feel like I didn't get to voice my opinion strong enough being in the comments. So I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to talk about, all the controversy that had been around Florida State not making it into the playoffs. And how I do think that, they were one of the most deserving teams to make the playoffs. I think that they made the right call, and that's because, they've always stuck to it's not the 4 most deserving teams, it's the 4 best teams. And I think they got it right with these 4 teams. I think these are the 4 best teams. But Florida State has a chance to prove them wrong, going to play Georgia. Both the teams that, kind of had a case to make the top 4 teams. I think it'll be a good game. I do think Georgia will still beat them, though.
Yeah, Georgia's favored by 17 right now. So
it's hard to do without a starting quarterback, man. I know that was a big part of it. And I know people are saying you shouldn't, lose your spot just because your quarterback got hurt. But he was a big part of that team. He definitely was helping them be one of the top 4 teams in the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But moving forward, first game at 4 o'clock, you got Bama versus Michigan. There was one thing I saw when they were announcing the 4th team. They had a camera on Michigan's football team in their weight room while they're announcing it, and as soon as they said Bama, the room fell silent. They didn't cheer. They didn't clap. They were heartbroken when they saw they had to play Bama. For a reason. Bama has looked outstanding. It really hurts me to talk good about Bama. But when they play this well, it's, you can't ignore it. So I like Bama to beat Michigan. I took their spread plus 1.5. I think they'll win the game outright. And I took the over on that game, which is at 44.5. I know Michigan's, whole thing is defense. They have a really good defense. And in their conference championship, they held a shutout against Iowa. But it's the SEC we're talking about. It just means more.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Going on to the next game, Texas at Washington. This is going to be an exciting game.
It is. It's going to be a really fun game. It's taking place in New Orleans.
It is. Party capital of the world.
Thought that was Garyville.
Close enough. We give it to them sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But Texas at Washington in New Orleans, gonna be a good game. I think both offenses are gonna explode. But the thing that I think is gonna separate these two teams is Texas's defense. I think that while their secondary might struggle a little bit against this Pac-12 spread offense, their defensive front is going to put some pressure on the quarterback, going to get in the backfield, shake some plays up. So I have Texas minus 4.5. I could see them winning by like 10 points maybe. Wow. 7-10 points around there. And And I also took the over on that game at 62.5.
That's some points.
Almost a 20-point differential from these two games.
But if you look at TCU versus Michigan last year, that game hit 120 something because it was 63 to 61 or something.
Yeah.
So points can be scored in these playoff games.
Yeah. Those combine, put them into a parlay or bet them separate if you want, but they combine into plus 1104.
Your parlay's much higher odds than mine. I'll put it that way. So firstly, talking about the Texas-Washington game, indoor game, so the offenses are having the advantage there, no weather. Washington, their offensive line did win the Joe Moore Award for best offensive line in the country. So like you talked about with that Texas defensive front, Texas has a great defensive front. Washington has a great O-line. I think this game is won in the trenches.
Yeah, it's going to be close down there.
I think if Michael Penix can stay in the pocket and deliver the passes to Roma Dunze and I forget the running back's name, but he's a great pass catcher as well. If Michael Penix can stay in the pocket, deliver the passes, I think Washington has a good shot to win this game. But I don't know if I trust Washington's defense to be able to slow down Texas' offense enough. Washington's defense reminded me somewhat of the 2019 LSU defense and the way that they're very bend and don't break. They're not like this year's LSU's defense where they're literally going to break. They are going to let up 45.
There will be no bend.
Yeah, there's no bending. Pencil. Yes. 55 points to Ole Miss. But Washington's defense is always, going to allow, it feels like 28 to 38 points. And I feel that, the offenses to me are a wash. So this game is won in the trenches, offensive line versus defensive line on both sides, and I trust Texas more than I trust Washington on the defense. So I'm going to take Texas to win the game as well. I'm not too sure about the spread. It felt really good at 4.5. I could see this being like a 34 to 38 type matchup, something along those lines. So I didn't want to necessarily pick the spread, so I just picked Texas money line because I do think they'll win the game. And then talking about the other game, we both thought Texas would win. This is the one where we differ. I had Michigan to win this matchup against Alabama. For a big reason, like you said, Michigan's defense is what they've been living on all year. Picks a shutout against Iowa, although Iowa's not a good offense. Still pitching a shutout's enough. I mean, all they have to do is get to the 30-yard line to kick a field goal, and they kept them from even getting that. So I like Michigan's defense a lot. Michigan has been full of controversy this season. With the sign-stealing scandal, and now just a couple days ago they had something else come out about some recruiting allegations where they're getting investigated. Jim Harbaugh's up for a huge contract extension, but apparently he's not signing it because they told him he can't go to the NFL after this season. So there's a lot going on with Michigan. Thanks, Rael.
I got one too.
Yep, Chicken Joe. We're the Chicken Joes. Shout out to Redfish's sister for the shirt.
Bluefish.
Bluefish. Shout out Bluefish. But anyway, I really like Michigan to win this game, man. I think Alabama's offense is just too inconsistent for me. I don't trust their offense to score how much they need to against a really, really good Michigan defense. We've seen Alabama, score 27 against Georgia, score 27 against Auburn. My question is, does Michigan score 27? If Michigan scores 27, then they'll win the game because I think this is the best defense Alabama has played all season.
Yeah. I could see it. I do think it'll be a close game, but, kind of similar to the Texas-Washington, like you said, I think Bama's defense versus Michigan defense, pretty much a wash. I think they're both very good defenses. Mm-hmm. It'll be a very defensive game. And that being said, I trust Alabama's offense a lot more than I trust Michigan's
and offense. I completely get that point. Like, I trust Jalen Milroe 4,000 times more than I trust J.J. McCarthy, and I don't trust Jalen Milroe at all. So if that's telling you anything. But, I think the pass rush for Bama is great.
Granted, I do think it'll be a different look for Bama because of this defensive matchup. I don't think they've seen a defense quite like this yet.
Yeah.
So it could shake things up. I mean, both teams didn't look great towards the end of the season. I mean, Bama looked really good against Georgia, but just the game before when they played Auburn, they should have lost that game.
my final reason for picking Michigan is because of the tests that they've faced. Alabama has played LSU, and they've played Georgia. That's the only two good teams that they've played.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. They played Ole Miss as well. You're right. However, Michigan played Ohio State. They played Penn State. They played Iowa. They played one other team I can't name at the moment, but it was another like highly ranked top 15 team. So Michigan has played good teams, and they've beaten them. I think I'm going to go with Michigan here. I'm going to take Michigan spread at -2.
It's good.
It's going to be a close game.
Yeah, got to have parity, because if we just agree on everything, then there's no point.
Right. I could see either team winning the matchup. I really do. But I think with everything that Michigan's been through off the field, I think this is their time to prove that they belong on the field, especially, having 2 straight heartbreak losses in the college football playoff, never being able to win one. I think this is where they make the championship, and I think we're going to have a Michigan-Texas natty. You think we have a Texas-Bama, and then we'll talk about what that could look like depending on what the matchup is on next week's episode.
That'd be such a good rematch, Texas-Bama rematch.
Texas-Bama would be a great rematch. I think any matchup we get is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, it's going to be, solid defenses. I mean, Washington's got the worst defense, but they've probably got the best offense of all 4 teams.
Yeah.
So
I think the worst matchup we could see would be Michigan-Washington, just because of how mismatched they are.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting matchup, but we'll see what ends up happening. I'm excited. So I got Texas money line, Michigan spread, and then I threw in LSU -10 on that spread as well. I went January 1st parlay, 3 games that are on Jan 1, 1 at 11, 1 at 4, 1 at 7:45. So, just watch 3 straight games and see if I can hit all 3 in a row. So LSU -10, Michigan -2, Texas money line. Combine those 3 for plus 456. Not bad, but not nearly as plus as 1,100 or whatever you had. So that is what we had for the bets. We'll see how that works out on next week's episode. That'll be on Tuesday, January 2nd. I will not be here because I will be on a beautiful vacation in the Smoky Mountains.
Oh,
so we'll see January 1st.
Oh.
So I will not be watching these games. So we'll see how that goes.
I just came back from the Smoky Mountains a few months ago. Great time.
So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully you guys can steer the ship in an efficient manner without the redfish.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we did it pretty good for a solid 3 months.
Yeah. I wasn't here for a long time, so we'll see. But last thing we got to talk about is some fantasy football, as we do Fantasy 5.
Yes, indeed.
We're talking about fantasy football for 5 or more or less minutes. We'll see where this one goes. First, we got to talk about Big Money League of record here. One of us made it to the playoffs.
One of us beat Danny this week.
There you go.
In the consolation bracket.
One of us lost by 40 in the playoffs this week. The other team was the last team in the league based on record. But you had a lot of injuries.
A lot.
So can't blame it. Can't blame it on your drafting necessarily.
I think only 2 out of my first 5 picks remained healthy.
That's so sad, dude. And then one of them you had to trade away for another guy who got hurt. So, I'm very happy with the way the Rhythm and Blues turned out this year. We didn't win it all, but we did make it to the Final 4, which was our best finish since joining the league. It was only our 3rd season. 3rd season in the league, and we ended up, finishing top 4.
It's a pretty similar, path that I took when I first joined the league. My first season, just missed the playoffs.
That's what happened to us.
And then my next 3, I made the playoffs. Either like a 4 or 5 seed. And I believe first year I made the playoffs, I lost by like 50 first round. And within the next 2, I made it to the semis and then lost.
So we lost in the semis. But very proud of what we did. We had a really good team. We actually just got riddled with injuries the last 2 weeks. Josh Jacobs being out really killed our team. And then, we had some inconsistent play from some guys we thought would be very consistent, like Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle.
He dropped pretty hard.
So, still happy with what we did. I think we did really well on draft day and then made a really good trade during the season that propelled us into the playoffs. Without that trade, I don't think we make the playoffs. Keenan Allen fell off. George Kittle didn't have a couple great games, but Jalen Waddle had season high, and Rachaad White was the best running back in fantasy over the past 3 weeks outside of Christian McCaffrey.
By the way, Jalen Waddle set a record last week. I don't know if you saw.
I did not.
He's the first Dolphins player ever. Dolphins been here a long time. First Dolphins player ever to have more than 1,000 yards in 3 straight seasons.
Nice. Good for him. But he's also probably out for the next 2 weeks with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah. So, at least 1 week.
Yeah. So, that as far as fantasy goes there, lost out of that league. I had another league I was the number 1 seed in, lost by 60 because I played against Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper.
Oh, no.
They combined for 89 points. So that is not good necessarily. No. So lost out, even though I was the first seed in that one. But in our second league of record, the other one we talk about, our Dynasty League, did you win?
I did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like to me is we have a
in-house finals.
Mouse Cookies versus Gordita Lettuce championship game
in the league.
Yeah, 2 best names, 2 best teams. So it's an all OTD championship.
Yeah, and
next week.
I haven't really scouted your team yet, but it's from my standpoint, it's looking good for you because Pittman's probably not going to play.
I like the way that sounds.
Jamar Chase is probably not going to play. My 2 starting receivers. There was some more that I was missing.
So I mean I don't know who's on your team.
Let me go look.
Looks like Jordan Addison.
Oh yeah, he's
got
not
hurt.
playing. My 3 starting
Michael Pittman,
my
Jamar
2 starting
Chase,
receivers in my flex probably not playing. Jamar is definitely not, but they said Pittman, has a chance.
So, yeah, I mean, if you look at my team, I'm pretty darn healthy other than Hockenson going out this week.
Must be nice.
I'll have Cole Kmet going into my starting lineup there. But, as far as my receivers / flex go, I have 4 receivers that are in the top 12, 3 in the top 5, with Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, and A.J. Brown. So they're kind of been carrying my team. My running backs are very, very mid, but I also have Jalen Hurts, who, although he sucks on the actual football field this year, he's been really good in fantasy. So I feel good. I feel very confident that I might win this championship, which, not to brag, but it's also a dynasty league where I get to keep all these guys for next season. And if you look at my team, it's really young.
Yeah, same here.
Like my oldest player that contributes for me is A.J. Brown, and he's like 26. So
I think my oldest player might be Najee Harris.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got young teams. We might see a dynasty come out of this household. So that'll be a fun matchup. If I win 1 league this season, that feels good enough for me. So, and then we also were in one other league together that I ended up beating you in this past round.
I believe Mark Cooper was on my bench.
Yeah. No, I think he was playing for you.
Yeah.
It was a 2-week round. I ended up beating you in the first week, which propelled me into the championship in that league, where I'll be taking on one of our high school friends, Dewey. So we'll see how that goes. If I can win 2 leagues, boy, oh boy, great season out of the boy.
We could both win 1.
Maybe not. So we'll let you know how that goes next week. After Monday night's game, we will know whether it is Mustang or Redfish that takes home a championship in the RIP Nut Dynasty League. So that's about all we got.
Yep. One last update on the Pels. If you took the under, congratulations. It's looking great. The 6 minutes left in the second quarter till halftime, and there's only been 64 points scored.
And it was at 228. So Byron knows about that 228. The under looks like it's going to hit right here.
Yeah, but 5:50 left in the second. Pels up 33-31. Both teams looking bad.
Yeah, both teams just can't make shots. Like, simply cannot shoot.
Pels, I believe, are now 2 for 9 from 3.
Okay, that's terrible. Shout out. We want to thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching live here on YouTube or Twitch, going back and watching it on YouTube through videos or the live feature. Always listen on Spotify, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Rate it, follow it, 5 stars. Share it with everybody you know. We're doing this for fun. We're not doing this for trying to become famous and make a bunch of money. We're doing this because we do it out of the love of our own hearts for our own teams and for, just ball. We love ball.
We love ball. We know ball.
We know ball. Unlike some people. Shout out Rebo Hustle.
I think walked in not that long ago.
Yeah. But thank everybody for watching. Follow us on Twitter. _Dome Pod. Follow at Be in the Know, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. Follow everything that's going on at the network. Want to thank everybody for watching and listening on Spotify and YouTube. We'll be back next Tuesday, January 2nd, 7 p.m. Make sure to tune in then.
You won't.
I will not. I am Redfish.
I am Mustang.
And we will see you next time.